And now, for the week of July 10th, Adobe Photoshop TV is on the air.
Welcome to Adobe Photoshop TV from the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And here's your host, the Photoshop guys, Scott Kelby, Dave Cross, and Matt Plaskowski.
Alrighty, welcome to another scandalous episode of Adobe Photoshop TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, the fine people who bring you this magazine, Photoshop User Magazine, the only magazine scandalous enough to put a picture of Dave Cross right on the cover.
Hard to believe.
This
week's episode is brought to you in part by Strata, DLO, CDW, and Logitech, and iStockPhoto.com. Framing it for you. Pow! Right there. All right, welcome everybody. My name is Scott Kelby, and joining me here on the set, representing the great country of Canada, Mr. Dave Cross. Hello everyone, welcome again.
And you'll probably notice that Mr. Matt Klaskowski, who has been here 2 weeks in a row kind of subbing for us, is not here. You know where Matt is? Tell him, Dave.
Matt is taking a rest, the stress of doing all that show by himself. He's taking a well-deserved vacation.
He's in Jamaica having a pina colada right now. That's right. You know what? When I realized that he'd be poolside, I thought, you know what we need to get him to do all these out there? You're thinking, have a drink for us? No. He needs to do a tutorial. So we're going to have Matt do a tutorial later in the show.
He doesn't know it yet. But
he doesn't know it, but as soon as he arrives back, guess what? He'll be going into post-production tonight and doing a tip for you. See, we care. But either way, I'm glad to be back. I missed 2 weeks in a row there, but we had Mr. Nelson, our creative director, fit in for us.
Now, you were all over the map. One of the big trips you took was to Amsterdam?
I did. I went to Amsterdam, and I got to tell you, I had a blast. The people in Holland are absolutely the best. The thing that surprised me the most, how many people in Holland watch Photoshop TV? It was stunning. People kept coming up to me, and they'd go, hey, say hi to Matt, say hi to Dave. And I'd go, well, they're not here. No, but everybody sent like best wishes and stuff. We had an absolute blast. I spoke at Adobe Live just outside of Amsterdam and had a great time there, and also did some book signings. Did a book signing in Amsterdam and in Rotterdam. So just had a great time. Had 180 people in Rotterdam, and about 170 of them were Photoshop TV viewers. So we had a really, really great time.
Now you're going to like shout out to everyone. Hey,
yeah, shout out to
big long list of names.
Yeah, shout out to Rutger, of course. Shout out to Rutger. All our friends at Pearson Ed over in I want to say Benelux. It's Pearson Benelux. But you know, that's not where you're watching the show, is it? You don't want to hear about Pearson Benelux. You want some tips and tricks and tutorials. And son of a gun, we brought some. And guess who's going to do the first one?
Matt.
No. That's right, Mr. Dave Cross. Dave, you're up first. What did you bring us?
I have a little tutorial that gives kind of an interesting idea where you can change the whole impact of a photo. Now, this only works if you have a high enough resolution photo that you can end up with both a high resolution and kind of a low resolution photo at the same time. And you'll see what I mean right now. So here's the photo I'm going to use from iStockPhoto, and it is a larger photo. If I zoom in, you can see it has quite a high resolution. So the first thing I'm going to do is duplicate this image. I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key when I choose duplicate. That just saves me having to name it. It'll just automatically be named copy. So I'm going to use image size now. Command Option or Control Alt I will get me into image size. I'm going to make this pretty small and get it to the whoops, that was too high. Actual size right there. So here's the original photo. You can see it's an image of two people back to back. Kind of looks like they're on a team working together. But we're going to completely change the way this looks just by the way we do this. So now I'm going back. Here's my smaller size. Here's the bigger one. This is the one I'm going to work on. I'm just going to make a very rough selection. I guess my regular lasso tool here. And really the only part I need to worry about is this side of the photo where they're back to back. So now I'm going to switch to the magic wand. If I hold down the Option or Alt key and click, that's going to remove the white from this selection here. And the only part I have to do manually is I need to get rid of this part of this selection in here. And I'm going to do this fairly quickly just for the purpose of demonstration. But basically I'm going to end up with a pretty rough selection. I mean, it'll do for our purposes here of the girl in this picture. And actually the bottom part here doesn't really matter because it's not even going to show up. Then I switch to my Move tool. Now I'm using keyboard shortcuts like V for Move and just drag and drop over onto this other photo. And now she's much, much larger. And I just sort of position her, so now it looks like she's much closer into the foreground. And all that remains is to make this look a little more realistic. I'm going to click on my background layer. I'm going to duplicate that layer. Just press Command or Control J to do that. And I'm going to add just a slight blur. So let's do a little bit of Gaussian blur to this guy. Just a couple of pixels of blur, and then we're just going to lower the opacity so we get kind of a soft focus effect. And look at how we've changed the impact of this photograph. This is what it looked like initially with two people that almost looked like they were a team ready to work together. And now afterwards it almost looks like he's just a little bit jealous of the fact that she's up there in the foreground and he's not. So there you have it.
Well, Dave, I don't want you to think for 1 minute that I don't think that's a great tip just because I was having pizza over to the side.
I must say your sense of timing was
yeah,
really
sorry.
quite,
well, hey,
quite
we're
good.
back, but whoa. Okay, another professional episode of Photoshop TV.
You got a little crumb right there.
Sorry, yeah, sorry. Okay, hey, we run a very tight schedule. You have to eat while the other one's doing a tutorial. So, Dave, you can eat now because I've got a tutorial for you. No,
good.
you know what, son of a gun, let's make Matt do it because then I could have a second slice
There you
and
go.
be done with lunch altogether. Let's turn things over to our intrepid guy.
Vacationing guy.
Vacationing guy, fresh back from Jamaica. Of course, he's not here in the studio. He's here through the magic of videotape.
There you go.
Here's a tip from our special friend, Matt Kloskowski. He's rocking the Husky.
All right, I figured since I am on vacation and enjoying the tropics, I figured why not just show you some pictures of where I am, and so you could wish you were there too. So let's just look at pictures for this tutorial. Here's one, some palm trees. There's a nice little sunset that we got. There's a picture of me playing golf. There's a picture of me jumping off of a cliff. And finally, we've got my wife taking off her face. So if you haven't realized I'm joking, I'm not just going to show you pictures. And most importantly, that is not my wife taking off her face. So it's very important that you know that. I will get in a lot of trouble if she sees that I said that. So anyway, what we're going to do here is talk about the web photo gallery automation in Photoshop. I'm going to show you how you can modify and customize it for your own needs. Specifically, a lot of these web photo galleries in Photoshop give you an image or a page that has a logo on it. What about if that's not your logo? I'm going to guess that the logo that Adobe has put in for the default custom gallery is not your logo. Call me crazy, but I'm going to guess that it's not. What happens if you want to change it? I'll show you just how to do it. So right now I'm in Bridge, and I use Bridge so I can visually select some images here. So I selected 6 photos. Going through the Tools menu down to Photoshop, and under Photoshop you're going to see Web Photo Gallery. So go ahead and select that and you'll go into the Web Photo Gallery wizard. Under Styles I'm going to choose Horizontal Neutral, and then under Email put in anything you want, probably your email address. I'll choose matt@somewheretropical.com. Under Use, this is the source images, so you can always choose a folder or the selected photos from Bridge. Now, under Destination, this is where you want to save your web gallery. So let's save it in My Documents. I'll make a new folder here. We'll call it Matt's Gallery. Hit OK. And then under Options, here's where you have some customization options. Under General, you could choose a couple little, I guess we'll call them general preferences. Under Banner, you can give your web photo gallery a site name. You can put your name in there. You can give it a date. And then you've got large thumbnails and thumbnails. These are just the regular thumbnails are the small versions that you see right over here. And then the large thumbnails, what's going to pop up when you click on the small thumbnail. We've got custom colors and security. So you've got some options in here, but they're a little bit limited. And one thing you can't change is some of the graphics that get put in. So I'll show you. Hit OK, and Photoshop will create your web gallery for you. When it's done, it's going to automatically pop open a web page. And on that web page, you're going to see a logo. Hopefully, there we go. Up here, here's that logo. Now, yours might not even look like that because I've already done this, so I've already changed mine. So yours is probably going to, I'll show you what yours probably looks like. But if you chose the same one, the horizontal neutral one that I chose, you'll have a logo up here. You can see it's got all the other info, my name, my email, the site name that we gave it. Here's our large and small thumbnails that are right here. So it does a nice job of getting us a web gallery very quickly, so you can quickly get something up for your client to see. Here's the trick though. You want to get your own logo on there, so what you do is go open up your applications folder or your Finder or your Explorer on Windows, and what you want to do is go find the folder that you saved your gallery to. So remember, I saved mine in My Documents, and then I called it Matt's Gallery. So under Matt's Gallery is going to be an Images folder. Open up that Images folder and just change your view so you can see the thumbnails here, and take a look at that. See, that's the logo that was in there. Now that's probably the one that you saw earlier, and I had changed it before. You see, I renamed it to Backup, but that's probably the one that you saw there if you hadn't done this before. Here's the one that I changed it to, but let's say that that's not your logo. You want to change it. Just take that image and just visually just open it up into Photoshop. You don't need to know the names of anything. Just look at the images and see which one you want to change. Open it up in Photoshop. Let's go ahead. We'll fill it with a different color, and you're probably going to want to change from indexed to RGB color, just so you can get a little more flexibility than working with it. And then just put your logo on this image. So I'm going to use a custom shape here. This isn't my logo, but I'm just going to use a custom shape. And let's say that was my logo, that little light bulb. Now once I've changed it, you can see that's the name of the file. Well, I just want to overwrite it. And here's what you want to remember. Since I'm overwriting it in the Matt's Gallery area, okay, I'm not actually changing the original. I'm changing the original in the one that I created, but the original actually still resides somewhere in the Photoshop CS2 folder. So you don't have to worry about modifying the original. This is just the one in the gallery you just created, and it's the only time it's going to happen. Alright, so we're back in Photoshop. We'll choose File, Save, and save it as a GIF. Save it as the same file here. Yes, I want to replace. Flatten layers, sure. Okay, okay. And now my image is saved. If I go back to my web photo gallery and I refresh it, check out what happens here. I get my new logo inside of there. So that's really just the tip of the iceberg. I changed my logo here, but there's a lot more that I can change. I can change the way the whole gallery works. I can change the way the thumbnails look. I can put borders around them. I can do just about anything I want. All you need to know is where to find it. And that's in that Matt's Gallery page. That's where I pointed it to create this web gallery. I can change all these pages. If I screw something up to the point of no return, just go back into Photoshop and create yourself a new web gallery. It doesn't matter. You haven't lost anything other than what was in this folder, and that's nothing permanent. So nice easy way to just get in there and modify the Photoshop web photo galleries. And again, that was not my wife taking her face off. I really will get in a lot of trouble for that, but hopefully she won't watch this show. So I will see you guys hopefully again in one of the next shows. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Matt. Did you notice he looked a little more tan than he did on the last show?
Very relaxed, too.
He looked very relaxed, very, looked like he was carrying. Anyway, hey, we're back. What? Oh, and it's time for a commercial break. When we come back, we have a special report from Adobe Live. While I was in Amsterdam, we had cameras with us and microphones and various other things. Did a little quick report to give you a look at Adobe Live over in Amsterdam. And right after this message, we'll be right back with that stunning report. Stick around. You're watching Adobe Photoshop TV.
Strata 3D CX. Design at a higher power. Add the power of 3D to your Adobe workflow. Link to Photoshop textures. Import Illustrator artwork. Render to layered Photoshop files. Create photoreal images. Strata 3D CX. Design at a higher power. Visit strata.com.
Alrighty, we are back, and we're going to take a look, as I mentioned before the break, that we've got a little look at Adobe Live from over in Amsterdam. Take a quick look around. What I did while I was there, of course, they had a keynote presentation. I did the keynote, and I did 2 sessions for photographers on the digital imaging side. And I did basically killer tips for photographers. So you're going to get a quick look at the conference and look. It was very, very neat, very, very well done conference. You know, Adobe, when they put on anything, it's an absolute first-rate show. And we had a great time. Here's a little quick look. And there you have it. There's a little quick look at Adobe Live.
Very, very cool.
It was very quick and very, very, very cool. All right, now it's time for my tutorial.
Now, what would that tutorial be on, I wonder?
You have to have a high-res picture enough. No, oh, I'm sorry, that was your tutorial. My tutorial actually is a Camera Raw tutorial. This particular one is it's how to create an effect using Camera Raw. You're actually creating a photographic effect. Now, you usually think of processing your images in Camera Raw. And of course, you have to shoot in RAW to do that. But processing your images in Camera Raw and then taking it to Photoshop to do the effects. I'm just going to do the finishing touch in Photoshop. I'm going to do the real processing and the effect inside of Camera Raw. So let's take a look. So here's a photo open up in Camera Raw. And it's actually just a boring looking photo. And I didn't have to tell you that, did I? I think you can see it's a boring looking photo.
It's not that boring.
But here's what we're going to do. It has potential. We're going to actually work with the white balance and some of the controls in here to try to make it look a lot more exciting. It was actually taken close to sunset. We're about 45 minutes from sunset. And this is really what I call one of those throwaway shots. You know, you're kind of like, how does that look? Click, not good, and you move on. So I actually didn't even catch this first time around looking through the images. But once you adjust it, it's kind of fun. We're going to start with the white balance. I want to make this look like sunset. I want to give it a really warm sunset. Now, the as shot white balance is kind of flat. Let's look at auto. All right, look at daylight. And as you start going a little further into cloudy and then to shade, look how it's really starting to really warm up. But before we go any further, what I want to do is I want to turn off the auto controls. Now, when you open up a photo, of course, it looks at what kind of camera you have, what kind of camera you're shooting, which it displays up here. And basically, it analyzes the photo based on that camera's profile. So let's turn off the auto corrections. And you can see there, it looks pretty nice with the white balance. Look before. There's the white balance, which was more bluish. All right, now we're going to go to shade, and it gets that nice look. We're just going to make a couple of changes here. What I really want is a silhouette. I really don't want to see detail. You can still see a little detail in here. I don't want to see detail, so I'm going to increase the shadows. And look at that. It basically turns the foreground to black. Now, I'm going to go in and increase the contrast a little bit. Makes things even a little more contrasty. And increase the saturation to make that white balance color tint even more. Look at that. Look how fast we went from like daylight to basically sunset just by changing basically the white balance, increasing the shadows, and a little bit of boost to the contrast and saturation. And of course, I turned off the auto adjustments. And by the way, anytime you move a slider in Camera Raw, it turns off whatever auto adjustment is there. So I didn't necessarily have to go turn them all off if I had moved any one of them. And if you want to see here, let's look at the defaults here. We'll look at the, well, here's the image settings here. Look, you can see the, there's how it looked before. And then here's our, so you can really see quite a difference. All done in Camera Raw. Now let's go ahead and open that in Photoshop, and we'll take it one step further. We're going to add a digital version of a neutral density gradient filter, which is going to help us basically tint the sky a little better because it's a little light up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to, from this pop-up menu, I'm just going to choose gradient. Now, the only thing you have to do before you choose this is make sure your foreground color is black. Then you're going to go choose gradient, and it brings up, of course, this picker here. Now, I'm trying to make this a little darker up here, but the gradient comes in by default with the dark part here and then going to transparent. So you have to hit this little reverse button right there. All right, so we're going to hit that, and then I'm going to click right here on the gradient, and it brings up the gradient editor. And I want to move the bottom of the gradient over. Right now, look over here. It goes from black to kind of, you know, light, and then down to transparent. Well, you can move where the transparency starts by moving this slider right here. But what's weird about this slider is you move it and nothing happens. You have to release the mouse to see the effect. So it's one of those, and that's weird because, think about it in Photoshop, and Dave, you know this, when you drag a slider, usually you get instant preview.
Sure.
This is one of those dialogues that nothing happens until you release the mouse button. So I'm going to try and drag it over a little this way, and of course I don't want it to really be dark like that, so I'm just going to change the layer blend mode from normal to soft light. All right, and watch the difference when I turn off this layer and on and off. You'll see how it enhances the sky from there to there to give us our final effect. Of course, let's increase the size of this a little so you can see a little better there. There we go. It's a little bigger than the screen, but you get the idea. See how we've gone this and basically made this black, giving us that hole. And if you remember where we started, which I will go ahead and show you, so just in case you forgot, because it was a long time ago. Now, when you open up Camera Raw, it kept your last settings, so let's go to the default settings. And then you'll see, let's open that, and you'll see a true before and after before your eyes. In 30 minutes or less. There we go. All right, well, there's your 12 megapixel images. So there's the original, and then here's our edited version using Camera Raw, mostly Camera Raw, and just a little bit of Photoshop.
Very nice.
Hey, I sure hope you're enjoying this episode of Photoshop TV. The reason we started Photoshop TV was to give people a taste of what NAP, the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, is all about. And the Photoshop guys are 3 of our trainers, but there are a bunch more trainers. There's lots more training, all kinds of things. You can discover about the National Association of Photoshop Professionals at photoshopuser.com. If you're serious about design, if you're serious about photography, if you're serious about Photoshop, you need to belong to NAP. And this is just the beginning of what NAP is all about at photoshoptv.com. So go to photoshopuser.com, and I have a special just for viewers of Photoshop TV, and that's you get a free extra month if you sign up for a year. Send me an email, lbecker@photoshopuser.com, and tell me you want to sign up, and I'll arrange an extra month for you. That's it. Back to Photoshop TV.
Well, we're back. I'm Scott Kelby, and here's Mr. Dave Cross. And you just came back from a trip.
I did. Well, actually, last week you saw a little report that I did on my visit to Dell. A couple of us were invited to go out there. We had a great trip, including a tour of their facility, which was awesome.
Very
and
cool.
I got to say one thing, and I guess this is just what life is like in Texas. I meant to take a photo of this, but when you walk into the visitors' entrance, there's actually a sign that says, please note, leave all firearms in your car before entering the building, which I guess is only in Texas they would actually
we have that
to make
same note outside the studio here. Leave your
right.
firearms
So,
in
but
your
I
car.
thank our friends at Dell for that. It was a great trip and amazing to see the work they do at that factory and the way every custom order comes out so quickly. It's really quite amazing.
Oh, it's amazing. All right, well, it is contest time, which is almost as amazing, but not quite. Okay, Dave, what's the deal in the contest?
Well, first of all, let's talk about last week's contest.
Wasn't even here for it.
We had a question which was, what adjustment layer has no settings in it? And the answer is threshold. Not threshold. You said threshold,
I said threshold.
You messed me up.
No.
Invert is the...
Invert. That was my first guess. I did get invert
Right.
finally, but I said
So the
threshold.
lucky winner is... Ta-da!
Ta-da!
There
Through
they
the
are.
magic of post-production.
And then this week, we also have, strangely enough, a new contest with some fabulous prizes.
Fabulous prizes chosen especially for you. This week's winner will win, of course, this fabulous brand new DVD. It's called The Best of Photoshop TV, and it's a DVD where we put together the best of the last 6 months.
So all the jokes, all the funny stuff. No?
None of that.
Oh, okay.
No, it's just tutorials. It's just mind-numbing tutorial after mind-numbing tutorial for like 2 hours. It's like ridiculous. But anyway, if you don't win this, you can go buy it at photoshoptv.com. But if you do win it, then, of course, there's no reason to buy it. Then we've got the Photoshop CS2 Help Desk written by our good friend, Mr. Dave Cross. Now, here's the thing about this book. It's called the Photoshop Help Desk book, but what it really is, it should really be probably the Photoshop question and answer book.
Oh, I had a new name for it.
Oh, he has a new name
Get
for
Your
it.
Answers Here book. What do you think?
Great! The Get Your Answers Here book. But hey, we have a special deal. Now, this deal that I'm going to tell you about is just for Photoshop TV viewers, right? This is like a super secret deal. If you go to peachpit.com and only peachpit.com and order Dave's book, and I got to tell you, I want to give you a personal testimonial. This is one of the best Photoshop books ever. I mean, the layout is really great. I mean, it's Felix and his gang designed this, so it's got a great layout and stuff. But There is so much great information in here. If you have a question about Photoshop, I'll guarantee you the answer is in this book. But it's a fantastic book. But here's the deal. Special deal for Photoshop TV users. 50% off the cover price.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, the cover price is $150. No. This has got to be. What is the cover price? They usually hide it back here.
Yeah,
all right.
it's
$34.99 is the cover price, and so you get half off, 50% off, by going to peachpit.com and using the special code that will appear right on screen, right there. The special secret code. Now, don't tell anybody else about this. This is only for Photoshop TV viewers. So if you're watching this on Photoshop TV, don't post this in blogs, don't put it in other places. It's only for our viewers. So there it is. You also get, of course, a one-year subscription to Layers Magazine. Who writes in this magazine?
Gosh, a bunch of people, including myself.
Yes,
and,
Dave Cross.
And Matt.
And Matt and
occasionally,
myself and other people.
Other
So
well-known
Layers
people.
Magazine, it is the how-to magazine for everything Adobe. And you also get, are you ready for this? Dun, dun, dun.
Amazing.
A full conference pass to Photoshop World in Las Vegas, coming up September 7th through 9th at the Mandalay Bay Convention Center in Las Vegas. We're doing Photoshop TV live there.
We will
Dave's
be.
doing classes, I'm doing classes, Matt's doing classes, and people like Burt Monroy and Jack Davis and Ben Wilmore and about 31 different instructors. It's the greatest gathering of Photoshop users in the world. It's the largest Photoshop event in the world. Hope to see you there, or you'll win a ticket maybe here.
That's correct.
And what's the question?
The question is, I'm going to show you a dialog box right about now, and you tell us, what is this dialog box? What is the missing name on the top of this dialog box you're seeing right now?
And Dave, can you tell them how they enter the contest?
I can do that. If you go to the Photoshop TV page on the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Enter the Contest. And you can enter, as you know by now, one time. And from all the entries, we'll be picking a lucky winner for all these fabulous prizes we have just
Right here, a
described for you.
prize package and extravaganza. Now, I got to tell you, I was at Photoshop Soup to Nuts, Soup to Nuts a couple of weeks ago, and a very nice woman walks up and says, Scott, I've been watching Photoshop TV just for months and months and months. I enter the contest every single week. How can it be that I have not won? And I had to tell her it's because we don't like her. No, I had to tell her it's because we literally get 6,000 to 10,000 entries every single week. Now, here's the thing. You go, well, 7,000 times, I won't win. But I also ran into a guy said, hey, I won on Photoshop TV. So I met both people at the same conference, so make
As
sure
they
you do
say,
enter.
You can't win if you don't enter. So.
All right, now at the end of every show, we like to give you 3 projects to do between this week's show and next week's show. The first project I'd like to tell you is about Pixel Genius's software. They have a brand new version of PhotoKit Color. It's PhotoKit Color 2.0. Now, the reason I'm telling you about this is you can go download a full working version for Macintosh or Windows by going to their site. It's a full demo version. If you haven't tried it, this is the secret a lot of people use. Go to their website, and they've got little photographs, and you run over them, and it shows you the before and after. That was all you will need to see, and you will download it quickly and start trying it. So make sure you go to pixelgenius.com, download their brand new 2.0 of PhotoKit Color.
Awesome. And I'm going to suggest you go to a website, pixel2life.com. It's got tutorials on just about, if there's a software program out there, chances are they have a tutorial, and it's a great resource to just keep your learning going and learn new stuff about all the different programs you use.
And our third project is to go to digitallandscape.org. Now, this is the home of the Digital Landscape Workshop Series, the DWLS. No, the DLWS. I've only been to it like 4 times. Don't know exactly the name. What it is probably the best out there, the best conference of its kind out there. You go out and you shoot with basically Moose Peterson, Vincent Versace, and Joe McNally, 3 of the top photographers digital photographers in the country today. These guys are brilliant. They take you out, you're shooting live, and you're shooting in the mornings, you're shooting at night, and you're doing Photoshop all day long. It is an absolute blast. Now, I'm doing their Vermont one this fall. They're going to Vermont next. Vermont in October. They're going out to Yosemite in
Alaska?
September, and they're going to, I think, Alaska in September. Go to their website and find out. Now, I'm doing the Vermont thing, but I just got to tell you, if you come to Vermont, I'm not teaching. I'm shooting. You're not going to learn anything from me there. I'll be like shooting beside you, like, hey, let's shoot that bear. Not shoot that bear. Shoot that bear. But anyway, so I hope you go check them out. It's an amazing experience. I went there twice last year. I had to actually miss one of the ones that I was signed up for this year because I just couldn't get out there. But it's the most fun you can have with the camera in Photoshop. So check it out. Well, it's a sad time. It's the end of the show.
Well, you know, it does mean we can get back to our computers now.
Yeah, I've got a
which
lot
is
of
good.
work to do, so as soon as we can get to work. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching another show. We had a great time this week. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back, of course, next week on behalf of myself and Mr. Dave Cross.
See you next time.
And the missing Matt Kloskowski. Thank you for watching Adobe Photoshop TV. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for watching Adobe Photoshop TV. See you next week.